a podcast hosted by Joe Dietrich, Joe on the mic, Leader Talk. Guys, welcome back to our next podcast. We're so glad to have Tina Baxter here with us today, and she's going to share with us what the Nurse Shark Academy is all about. But let me introduce her to get her in the shoot here. So Tina M. Baxter is an advanced practice registered nurse and a board certified gerontological. Hopefully I said that right. Yay. Nurse practitioner through the American Nurse Credential Center. I'm gonna mess that up. Who resides in Anderson, Indiana. Ms. Baxter has been a registered nurse for over 20 years and a nurse practitioner for 14 years. So thank you so much for doing that for the community, because I know that's a rough career field and not appreciated. And the reason why I know this is my sister-in-law, she's a nurse as well. And man, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. And she is the owner of Baxter Professional Services LLC, a consulting firm which provides legal nurse consulting services for attorneys, insurance professionals, also wellness and chronic disease management coaching, and customized educational and operational resources for healthcare organizations. Okay. And she is the founder of the Nurse Shark Academy, where she coaches nurses to launch and scale their business. She is a public speaker and has spoken on numerous topics on national levels. She is a contributor to articles on electric and print media such as Entrepreneur.com, pretty cool, The Minority Nurse, LinkedIn, as well as a guest on numerous podcasts like this one. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you on. When we were on another thing the other day, your spirit just shone through about how you want to help entrepreneurs and especially nurses. Can you share with the audience how you came about the Nurse Shark Academy with us, please?
Well, I was looking at a way to find a name for what I was going to do. I was in a challenge with another individual, and excuse me,
Bless
pardon
you.
me, of course I get choked up now. He gave me a challenge to start a challenge within 3 weeks.
Oh my.
So I did. So I had to find a name really quick. And I was looking around, and Nurse Boss was taken, Nursepreneur was trademarked. I was trying to figure out what it was, and I had been watching a lot of Shark Tank at the time. And so I looked at the definition of a shark, and a shark is an expert in their field. And so then I said, well, okay, well, we can be the Nurse Shark, but is, that name taken? So I Googled it. And there is an actual animal, the nurse shark. What I liked about the animal, though, is that the nurse shark is a non-aggressive shark, right? But it's still a shark. And so I think that kind of fit what we were trying to do, is that we're experts in nursing and we're experts in business. And so even though we still have teeth, we're non-lethal.
No, that is so cool. That is so cool. So you've been a nurse for over 20 years. And what caused you to say, you know what, I need to go out and help other nurses become entrepreneurs? I mean, what was the impetus of that?
Well, I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur in the beginning. I was a struggling nursing student, just doing a side gig, a side hustle of teaching CPR classes on the side. I just wanted to make extra cash. So I had been doing that for 25 years, teaching CPR classes on the side. And about 15 years ago, I was in between jobs as a nurse practitioner, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. So I was thinking about writing a book, and I asked a friend, hey, can I lease some space in your office, just so I can have a quiet place to write this book? And instead she said, why don't you become the COO of the company and help me start the CNA training program? And that's how I got started in entrepreneurship. Once I started, I understood the power of creating something from its infancy and watching it grow. And that's when I was hooked, because I found a way to use my talents and my degree to its fullest extent. I wasn't able to, I'm going to pause this really quick for 1 second. Sorry, I had something in the back of my throat.
No, no, no worries. We can always edit that out.
Great. But I found a way to use my nursing education skills to help others get what they want, to help students teach. To help students learn and to teach them how to get started in the nursing field. And I loved it, but on my own terms because I didn't fit the academia mold because I wanted to practice. I wanted to be out there seeing patients. And so it's really hard to do both effectively on the schedule that you get in academia because it's very 9 to 5, etc. So that whole college life isn't used to having a class, let's say at 8 o'clock at night, right? And so that was a reason why I gravitated towards that. And then I started getting phone calls from other nurses that are like, "Hey, can you help me figure this out? How do I get an LLC? And, where did you get your malpractice insurance? And, how did you hire someone?" And all those questions started coming up. And I was getting more and more of that, that I decided to turn into a formal coaching program so that I can answer those very practical questions that many nurses have. When I started out in my own business, I was frustrated because I was looking for a coach and a mentor. And a lot of times, no offense to some of these other coaches out there, but they would talk around the subject.
Mm.
They give you the broad overview, but never answer the question of how.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to give nurses that toolkit to say, how? Let's go from idea to launch so that you're not jumping out there doing the thing and then finding out, oh, I needed to have this business license. Oh, I needed to have this type of insurance. Oh, I didn't write a policy for that. So we're going to automatically build all that stuff. So when you're ready to launch, it's already there and
Mm.
you don't have to try to backpedal. I had a friend who started a hairdressing business and she's my hairdresser and she built her own business on her home, on the land in her home in a tiny home, which is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic, everything was shut down, perfect timing. Problem is, she didn't have the right business permit
Ooh.
because the land where she was on was zoned for residential, not for business. So she ran into some problems with the city and all the zoning things that could have been avoided had she done the stuff, ahead of time, done her research and things like that. And I've seen that happen so many times in nursing businesses where people are getting out there, they've launched their new business, they're excited, it's growing, and they're ready to expand, but then finding out that they can't duplicate it
Mm.
because they don't have the process in place
Mm.
and they're the only person doing everything. And so we talk about that and how to better position yourself so when you're ready to scale, you'll already be there. And then when that next coach picks you up and they say, "Hey, we're ready to get you scaled and doing more and more," you're actually in a place where you're ready to do that.
Guys, gals. I know. There's some male nurses out there too.
Hmm.
And look, let's give a shout out real quick to all the nurses. And you guys rock. You guys take a tremendous responsibility, and God bless you guys, especially during the pandemic. You guys were rocking it, and we appreciate you. And that was when I came across Tina. I was like, you know what? She's doing a great service to our nurse community and helping them to be able to not just rely on the nurse job, but then to build. And she's giving y'all some gold right now. She's giving you some gold that you can use her services and her trials and tribulations that she went through as a struggling entrepreneur business person coming up, and use her knowledge to avoid all the pitfalls that comes with a business, and to build your business on a solid rock, on a solid foundation. And that's what she was talking about. There's sometimes when you're building a business, like you don't form an LLC, you're not formally protected, or you think you can do something in a certain area of town, but then, oh no, permitting. I can't just do this type of business because it's not zoned properly, and all this other stuff, that all these other things that business people don't do. It's great to have an entrepreneur idea, but it's also fundamental and critical to have a Tina in your pocket to help you when you start your business to take it to the next level and not have to worry about all those other things. and that's what she's trying to get with us today, and being the Nurse Shark Academy. I
Yes.
love it. I love it because yeah, I grew up in Florida, South Florida, and we had
Okay.
nurse sharks. We had nurse sharks running around in the waters,
Hmm.
and yeah, they're docile, but you don't want to get one mad at you and bite you.
That's right. They still got teeth. And everyone that's in healthcare know, all the docs know, you don't mess with the nurses.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
have teeth. But more importantly, this is something I saw in the past few years, even before the pandemic, is that there is a discontent
Hmm.
in healthcare. And it's been steadily growing, and the pandemic just really exacerbated this issue. And what I like to tell nurses is that you can leave your job, but you don't have to leave your profession. Take those nursing skills that you have. We're already analytical. We already are go getters. We already know how to plan. We already know how to make do with what we got. We have all the skills to be a great entrepreneur. Nurses are entrepreneurial, whether they know it or not.
Hmm.
And so I say, take all of that and use your nursing gifts in a new capacity as a nurse. When I started out, I never thought I would be a business owner. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be writing a book, have a blog, been on podcasts, started my own podcast, have a news show. Never thought any of this would have ever happened. Getting phone calls from people from all over the world. I never would have thought any of that would have happened, because when I graduated from nursing school, the only thing I thought about was getting that first job as a nurse and being on the floor, because I thought at that time I had made it.
Hmm.
Right? If you go back to that first day on your job as your nurse, you think, okay, I've made it. I started out as a CNA. So I started out working as a nursing assistant. So I knew what nurses did. And when I got that first nursing job, and I remember, and I'm telling myself here, but when I was working as a CNA, my very first CNA job, I made 375 an hour. We got the federal government moved it up to a little bit, so we got like 425 an hour. I was like, woohoo, right?
My goodness.
My very first nursing job, I was offered $18 an hour, and I thought I was rich. So fast forward to what a lot of nurses are experiencing now. I was just on a Facebook group for nurses, and someone posted an ad from a recruiter that says, come work night shift at this job, permanent staffing, 28 to $30 an hour. And I'm like, yeah, but there's no shift differential. There's no, there's no perks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sign-on bonus. I'm like, good luck getting that filled, because now nurses are making $75 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how far we've come.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was making that $18 an hour, yeah, I really thought I was rich.
Hey, back in the day,
That
that was a lot of money.
was a lot of money back in the day. I remember um, it's so funny. I remember my last job as a CNA. I think I was making 875 when I was working in the nursing home.
Mm.
And I was told not to tell anyone else, because I had the highest salary, because transferred from another nursing home to this nursing home in a different city.
Mm.
And then they wanted to cheat me out of my shift differential and my weekend option. I said, no, according to the handbook, it says I'm owed these things. This is why it's so important as an entrepreneur to make sure, if you have employees, you have the employee handbook,
Mm.
because they have rights too. And you want to protect yourself, but you also want to protect your employees. Because if you're doing business the right way, you're not going to exploit people.
Mm. Mm.
You're going to pay them a fair wage. You're going to offer them the benefits when you can. And if you can't, you're going to offer them incentives and do what you can. So it's important that we are ethical in what we do, even as we own our own businesses. And so that's one of the reasons why, as I was doing something else, I was thinking about having an event for nurses again during Nurses Week. And I
Oh.
was going to do the spiritual renewal for nurses again, but Holy Spirit dropped it in No, I want you to do an event called Nurses for the Kingdom.
Wow.
He said, because we've got too many people that are out there starting businesses, but they're having unethical business practices.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
And I just saw an article about a nurse practitioner, and I can't remember what state it's in, but he had to pay back like $18 million for defrauding people for having a sham office in Rhode Island where he never actually saw patients. He just picked up mail. He made up these patients, got prescriptions for these fake patients, and then sold them to other people.
Oh my goodness.
And it's that type of stuff that needs to stop.
Yes.
And so that's the reason I wanted to do that, because I also wanted to bring the joy back into nursing. I want people to enjoy their jobs again. And how we show up every day when we come to work says a lot about our character.
Mm.
And so there's been a trend of a lot of TikToks. And yes, I'm all for funny and joking and levity. Don't get me
Mm.
wrong. But I've noticed that some of the TikToks that have been coming out recently are showing our nurses in a negative light.
Mm.
And they're taking and poking fun at some of the patients, and it's gotten them into trouble. Some nurses have lost their jobs because of it.
Ooh.
And I think there's a certain undercurrent to this social media that has a spirit of meanness behind it.
Mm.
And we want to be different. Nurses are still the most trusted health profession. We make number one every year for the last several years.
Yeah.
So why not capitalize on that and actually show us to be the great healthcare providers that we are? And
Come on.
so we have to be better. We can't fall into those traps of cutting corners and not doing things. I've noticed that medication errors are now becoming criminalized more and more, meaning not
Ooh.
only can you face civil penalties, but you also can face legal criminal jeopardy for medication errors and things that are happening. So we're seeing this more and more. And as staffing has become an issue, nurses that are still left there, and I applaud them for staying in the trenches. But if you're chronically understaffed and things aren't getting done, instead of blaming the institutions that caused the problem, they're turning to the nurses and making them criminals.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
And so those are things that are happening, and that's one of the reasons why I have that show is that, hey, I'm sounding the alarm. I'm letting you know these things are happening so you can be aware and do things for your practice as a nurse and be safe.
Come on. Come on. Hey guys, if you haven't figured it out, you need Tina in your corner. You need Tina in your corner to be that resource for not just your business, but also to help you boost your not to say your likability, but your value as a nurse where you are, because she was giving you practical tips and awareness, keeping abreast of the changing trends in the nursing, I guess you could say, career
Mhm.
opportunities, and just to watch out for things that are going on legislatively. And that's only even better to have Tina in your corner, because you know what? She can add value to you, and you can add value to where you're working as a kingdom entrepreneur, and not only just help people physically, but you could be there as a spiritual healer as well. I mean, I'm saying that in a broad text. You're not going around like I'm a rebuke you in the name, literally laying hands on people, but
that
we
that
do.
might get you that might get you fired.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we bring the presence of God wherever we go, and where God is, there is healing.
Yes.
And but man, wow, that is so awesome. So let's just say I'm a new nurse. I'm a new nurse in the community. I say, Tina, um, how can the Nurse Shark Academy help me out? Why should I join? What would you tell them?
You're a new nurse in the community,
Mm.
and I want to teach you to be entrepreneurial in your workspace. And what do I mean by that? There's a great way for you as an entrepreneur in your own unit to do things to not just shine a light on you, but to make everyone else around you better as well. That's my goal, is to for everyone who meets me to be better off for having met me. And I want to shine a light on how you can do that. And it's showing up authentically. It's understanding that you don't have all the answers. None of us do. Questions are important. Questions are valid. And that, at the end of the day, you're going to do the very best that you can. You're brand new. It's going to take you a while to feel comfortable and to learn all the tricks and all the ways to work smarter and not harder, but still do it the right way. And it's going to take time to do that, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. I can tell you you're going to fall flat on your face one time or another. You're going to make that first med error. It happens. You're going to have a run-in with a patient. How do you handle that? You're going to have a run-in with a colleague. How do you handle that? How do you come out of that keeping your integrity intact, keeping your sanity intact?
Come on.
And so there's ways to do that. And then part of that is taking care of yourself. Your self-care is so important. And I've seen it, and it's really sad. I worked on a unit, and there was a nurse there who, um, just want to give a trigger warning here, died by suicide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And none of the colleagues knew he was feeling depressed. No one knew what was going on. I didn't work with him every day because I was a nurse practitioner coming in. But I just said, "Hey, where's so and so?" one day, and they're like, "Oh no, he died." And I'm
Mm.
like, and it was almost as if, "Oh well, we got someone else,"
Oh
And
wow.
that made me really sad. That really made an impact on me because I remember I had a coworker when I worked in retail, and I came back to work and he wasn't there, and he told me he had died. He had been ill and got really sick, and he just died. And this is at the very beginning of the AIDS pandemic. So he died of
Oh.
AIDS. And he was the greatest person. And I mourned him and I missed him. And to me, that's a normal reaction, right? Someone very great, outgoing, was a really good mentor to me when I first got this job. And he was looking out for me, brought me into his department, and he passed on. And so as nurses, sometimes we can get build up a callus.
Mm.
And so how do you experience grief, loss, death on a day by day basis and still keep your sanity and still keep joy about yourself? This is what I would say. Making sure you're keeping in contact with your family, your friends, doing things for yourself, managing your day well, getting your proper rest, um, making healthy boundaries for yourself. Yes, taking time to go to the bathroom. Why is it a flex for nurses to say, "Yeah, I haven't been in the bathroom all day today"? That's a flex. I'm like, that's not good.
No,
We
no,
need to rethink that.
that's
There's
not
a
good at all.
running joke about nurses' bladders being able to hold a hold. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
serious. And so we kind of put that up. Yeah, I didn't get a break. I didn't eat all day. That's not healthy.
Mm-mm.
We need to do better. And so, as nurses, we're speaking out and speaking up to have a better work-life balance. And I am so grateful for Gen Z for this because they're pushing that. And I like continue to push that. We've talked about it enough for years. Let's make it happen. And I think this pandemic has really helped people to see, hey, wait a minute, why am I working myself into the ground?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I should be able to get my lunch break and be
Mm-hmm.
uninterrupted. I should be
Mm-hmm.
able to at least go to the bathroom, right?
Something.
And so that's but in nursing, it's like that's a badge of honor because it's always been, well, my mom had to go through it. She was a nurse, and I had to go through it, so you have to go through it. And I'm like, no, maybe there is a better way so
Mm-hmm.
that no one has to go through that anymore, and that we value our staff and we value um, what they get. It's so funny. This is how the hierarchy is in the hospital. So the doctors get this whole private dining room, right? They can go in, it's They always have coffee there and snacks for them, and they can go in. What do the nurses get? Maybe some leftover pizza from the shift before them, and a little tiny cubby.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but I mean, that that's the reality of what we face. And so how can we make our environments better?
Mm.
Let's talk about that. One of the things I did when I was a nurse manager is we had a time where the air conditioning went out, and I'm the manager on a psychiatric unit.
Oh my.
So not only do we have our patients who are very hot and angry, we've got staff who are hot and angry as well.
Mm.
I said, okay, there's not much I can do. We got fans going, the doors open, what we could do. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to take the little card that we have. I'm going to use our discretionary funds. I'm going to buy popsicles for everybody. So everybody got popsicles so they could calm down and their tempers would go. And it worked. It's thinking
Yeah.
of little things like that to make your environment better and what you can do
Mm.
for one another and fostering that camaraderie.
Come on. Come on.
Mhm,
That is so good. And that is having an entrepreneurial mindset at
mhm.
work. That's a perfect example. How can we service the people that we're serving in a way to alleviate a problem? And that's what entrepreneurs do. We find solutions to problems. Now, before we go, Tina, before we go,
Mm,
I want to
mhm.
make sure that everybody knows where to find you. Can you share with us your website, your social media, all that good stuff, please?
Yes. So for those of you who want to find us on the Nurse Shark Academy, it's the nurse-shark-academy.biz. You can sign up for a free consultation. There's a link there. You can sign up for a 15-minute call. Also, we have coming up our Jumpstart class. You can always come into that. If you're ready to take action and get started with your business, take the Jumpstart class. You can download the ebook. That can help you as well. If you're an attorney and you happen to be listening, or you know of an attorney and you need help with a case, it's baxterprofessionalservices.com. That is our website for the legal nurse consulting business. And then you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Um, I do have TikTok, but I'm not on it much. You can find our podcast on Podbean, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, and before we go, I always like to ask my guests to like share something with our community that God's been weighing on your heart to just share, enlighten, and to spur our audience on.
Find the joy.
Mm.
Find the joy. Go back to that place. And I'm not talking about happiness because happiness is different. I'm talking about that spark of joy and remembering what brings you joy. And when I think about my career as a nurse, I cannot believe how far I've come and how much God has just done. And this was a prophecy. I didn't say this, but this is a prophecy over me. I was never intending to become a nurse. I was actually going to become a physician. And I got in there, started the classes, took the MCAT twice, was ready to apply and could not do it. And my first day in college, a missionary walked up to me and said, "The Lord just told me that you're going to make a big impact in nursing." And at first I didn't receive it because, I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a nurse. I'm going to be a doctor. I have doctors and nurses in my family. So I already know. And I spent some time with my cousin, love you, cuz, but I spent 2 weeks with him. He was doing his OB/GYN practice. And one, I knew OB is not for me. I learned that. But the more importantly, I learned that I don't want to live the lifestyle of a physician. They get all this work, never have all the money, but never can do anything fun with it, never get
Mm.
to play with all the toys, always on call. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And so I got a job as a CNA. So don't be afraid to shift. Listen to where Holy Spirit's leading you, right? Because you never know that He has more for you. There's so much you can do in the field of nursing. I have had a great career. I've been an educator and nurse practitioner and speaker, and I've taught in colleges, universities, and done community classes and worked with nonprofits. I've been on boards. All this in a nursing career because of my nursing background. don't forget the power of being a nurse. Nurses are superheroes. You should be the hero of your own epic journey.
Mm.
And if you're not the hero of your own story, let's talk about that. Let's work on that. Life happens for you, not to you. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that because if it hadn't been for the people along the way that encouraged me, I never would have been here today. And yesterday, I got to talk to them and tell them thank you publicly in front of other people because it was because of the nurses that took me under their wing when I was a nursing student and gave me a job as a nurse tech on the floor and took me to experiences. And one of them actually put me in leadership classes with her because I was a brand new supervisor, and she made sure I had a seat at the table. I'll
Mm.
never forget that. So if you're a nurse listening and you're a veteran nurse, reach back, help a new budding nurse. Make sure they get that seat at the table and they see what you're doing so that you begin to grow your own. We need to stop eating our young, as they say, and start growing our young because
Mm.
one day we're going to retire and we're going to want somebody to take care of us, right? So we need to help them to be the best nurses that they can be so they can pass it on.
Wow. 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 That right there is gold. That right there is gold. The best hallmark of a leader is duplication,
Mhm.
duplicating other leaders. And guys, Tina just dropped some gold on you because can you imagine that leader brought her in on some leadership situations? Did that leader think at all that those little things that they did might have been little to them turned into what Tina is doing now, expanded her territories. And now she's giving seats to people at the table right now through her academy. Guys, take advantage of this opportunity. You just mentioned that you have some opportunities coming up, some challenges. What's going on?
Yes, so I'm going to run a free challenge. It's going to be on Facebook and LinkedIn this time. I'm branching out here. And I want to talk about the authenticity that we need to bring back into nursing. And what I've seen is that in many times our enterprises, we think about ourselves, we think about our customers, but we forget about God.
Mm.
And so he's given me a framework and I got a download about not including, but having God be the lead. Because remember, it's about seeking his kingdom first and his righteousness first, and then everything else. So we're going to talk about that and what does that mean in those implications for nurses, because it may come a little bit differently for you. So whether you're working on the unit in the ER, you've got your own business, there's some things that may have to change in order for you to be more effective in changing this world. And if we're going to be leaders, we're going to have to lean into that because the world is telling us all kinds of things. I've talked with lots of coaches. I watch a lot of great people out there, but they're taking some of these kingdom principles and twisting them.
Mm.
And I've noticed this, and they're adding in other things. And so we've got to get back to basics. We've got to get back to Ecclesiastics. And Ecclesiastes says, what are we supposed to do but love God, right? Seek out his wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Do those things,
Mm.
right? That's our whole duty. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about because I think we've got it upside down to where it's all about the customer, and we forget about the worker, we forget about the healthcare worker, and
Mm.
we've certainly forgotten about God.
Wow.
And so we got to flip that around.
Mm. And where can they go to get all the information about this upcoming
So
event?
the information will be coming out in the next week or two. You'll have a save the date on our Facebook pages, and then we'll be starting to put together the promos. Will be going out next week, I think. I'm
Okay.
getting ready for that. Yep. So you'll find it. So just keep an eye out on our Facebook page, and we'll be doing the promos a little bit for that, and we'll start talking about it. And you can always tune into the show, our weekly Facebook and YouTube live show where we do all the nursing news and business, and we'll be having all of our announcements there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Guys, gals, everybody. Go to the Nurse Shark Academy.biz, the
Hmm.
Nurse Shark Academy.biz, and check out Tina, check out what she's doing. And we'll have the links down in our description below so you can check her out and all the LinkedIn's, the Facebook, all that good stuff, and TikTok too if you want to. But guys, you got to check her out. Thank you so much, Tina, for coming on, sharing your passion for our nurse community, sharing the passion for entrepreneurship, sharing your passion for basically you want to create a culture of caring, a culture of inclusivity, a culture of making sure God's in the business so it will work everything out. And we thank you for coming on. Thank you. I appreciate that. And guys, gals, thank you for watching us. And don't forget to like the podcast, like the show, share it with other people so they can find out more, and share Tina with your nurses, all your nurse friends, your family members, and those people that need, and you know who they are. You know who they are. Just share this podcast with them so they can find out more about the Nurse Shark Academy. And thank you, Tina, for coming on. I appreciate you. God
Thank
bless you.
you. Thank you for having me.
God bless you guys. And like I always say, have a positive expectation of God's goodness in your life each and every day. God bless you guys. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast and share this podcast, because there, you need to get leadership tips out there and have a positive expectation of God's goodness in your life each and every day. Hey, if you want to find out more about what I do, go to joedietrich.com. Go to joedietrich.com and see what we're up to. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.